So Project Hail Mary is the latest film from directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller that is a sci-fi adventure based on a book by Andy Weir, who you might remember who was responsible for the story of The Martian. Now, even with its hard science components, Project Hail Mary plays more like a comfy sci-fi picture for favoring hope and heart amid its grand space mission. So Andy Weir's intricate writing takes on a more digestible, sweeter edge when adapted by directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller, where I guess, they've directed a lot of stuff, but I guess probably a good comparison here might be something like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Now, sure, there's a saccharine sensation to how the directors lean into this amusing charm that they have going, and one can't help but look at all the, the marvelous tech on display as a warning to play this big budget picture safe. And while I can't deny that this movie steers towards the less turbulent waters with meticulous detail and design, I also can't deny that what it strives for, it works, even when watching the movie mathematically project the heartstrings that it intends to tug. There is a lot of faith placed in Ryan Gosling to command this behemoth of a sci-fi picture, mostly on his own. He plays the scientist Ryland Grace, tasked with a mission in deep space to save Earth. After awakening from an induced coma aboard his spacecraft, Grace loses his memory and has to recall how and why he's in space. The non-linear storytelling slowly reveals the events leading to his voyage, ranging from his debates with the stern superior of Eva, voiced by Sandra Hüller, to his friendship with Officer Hatch, played by Lionel Boyce. Although Grace awakens to an empty vessel, his life on Earth also turns out to be lonely, for having no family or romantic partners to miss when he heads up to the stars. This makes him an ideal candidate, but also a sad one, to the point where it feels like Gosling's passionate character from La La Land is tossed into the silent void of Blade Runner 2049, relying on his echoing charm to fuel a dangerous, isolating, save the Earth mission. Even when Gosling does have somebody to play off of, he's still carrying the movie, considering his friend for this adventure is a rock-like alien that he dubs Rocky, who's played here by James Ortiz. Now, there is some fun in watching Grace progressively decipher Rocky's language and give him a computer-generated voice for translations. There's also some intrigue to Rocky's ship and how it functions with the material that it's made out of. But the film does get a bit too comfy with making Rocky this adorable prodigy who knows a lot about space, but gets all giddy when boarding Grace's ship for the first time. The common bond that they share, akin to something like E.T. the Extraterrestrial, doesn't feel tired, however, as Gosling does his best to play off the creature that he's sharing his spaceship with. There is a sweet balance between them solving the mystery of cells that are eating the sun and sharing parts of their culture, working very hard to make that human-alien buddy dynamic feel more entertaining rather than just a tired road that we've been down many times before. Where the film is at its strongest is no surprise here. It's the visual effects. From the lack of gravity in Grace's spaceship to the eye-popping shots of a planet slathered in green, there's plenty to be impressed with in a film that takes enough time to stop and smell the cosmic colors, rather than just get lost in the equations of the mission. The dazzling displays are given as much allure as the script's devotion to Andy Weir's science astute writing, where, he focuses, as much on the details of science as Tom Clancy does with his meticulous military thrillers. There is more than enough heart pumped into this picture to make me care more about the individuals inside the out-of-control spaceship spinning towards the planet's atmosphere. So, yeah, credit to Miller and Lord for their direction that evokes tears over the dangers faced by a creature that looks like a scrap design from a pet rock movie. The nonlinear storytelling is clever in favoring different aspect ratios to signal transitions, but the scenes on Earth are strangely more compelling than the space adventure, because usually the prep for launch scenes is the weakest for the exposition required before the rocket can blast off, but it feels more like the opposite here. While Grace's starbound investigation has its own wonder, his interactions with the scientists and officials have their own fascination for how well Gosling plays off his co-stars. His conversations with Sandra Hüller reveal more than just the standard utilitarianism that she demands of such a capable mind. Grace's experiments for the government are, they're very engaging, given how he slaps them together with duct tape and gets all giddy when he makes a huge discovery. Like that, it's a fantastic energy. And considering how much time is spent exploring the quirks of Rocky, it would have been nice to spend a little bit more time on Earth, considering there's an entire story of humanity and intrigue before the rocket even departs from the launch pad. Now, even with all the salutes to science and spectacular special effects, Project Hail Mary has a simpler draw for how it stews on the warmer moments of a daring expedition. It's not exactly treading any new ground here, but it does walk that path well with gorgeous visuals and a hauntingly mesmerizing soundtrack by Daniel Pemberton. And hey, sometimes it's just nice to hang out with an alien who isn't seeking to dominate the galaxy or eat our flesh, but just wants to find some purpose and connection like all of us. And sure, maybe that aspect isn't given as much depth as it should, but it's still a rare and welcome dose of big screen science fiction where the heart doesn't, fully push out your brain. So for trying to balance, the smarts of Andy Weir's writing and the charm of Lord and Miller's direction and Gosling's acting, there's a pretty solid balance here for a genuinely entertaining sci-fi film that it has a decent mix of heart and mind, just enough. It doesn't feel like it has a huge portion of both, but it has just enough to be a very entertaining blockbuster in its own right. So yeah, I really dug Project Hail Mary.